Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from Skiessentials.com.
I'm Bob. How's it going?
Welcome back to our Top 5 Friday ski industry news videos. It looks a little different up here right now because Bob's got all the paper and the topics and I don't. Similarly, I thought we would just kind of, I don't feel like apologies are necessary, but there has been less content this week kind of put out there into the world from us.
This was an interesting week.
It's just been an interesting week. Yeah, we had a couple of people out of the office, whether at a free ride event coaching at the top of the mountain or illnesses or whatever. And then we were on snow. Do we have three media shoot days this week, I think?
Yep.
Sounds right in my head. And then a lot of my time this week was spent kind of just doing some necessary prep work for our 9th annual ski test, Bob.
Yeah, we were just talking about how February's like over and it's March and then the season's over.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did a little instructional video about how to take care of edges if you slide rails, which there were already some comments of people being like, well, I never thought about dulling an edge on purpose, but essentially what you do.
Here we are.
So if you're interested, check that out. And then next week we'll be back to kind of a more normal schedule. Top 5 will look more normal. If you are on the written article, you might notice that it just visually looks a little different. And yeah, that's just what happens when we're a small team on a week like this. We do our best and do what we can. And yeah, I'm finally going to get to that Studio 2 review next week. Hoping we can spend some time in the Armada AR1 boot, and then we'll see what else happens.
Sounds good to me.
I guess the only other thing I have to say is we're still like in the middle of like price drop season for 2025. It's not in the middle. We're still kind of early, but Fisher had prices dropped today.
So Fisher's today, I had Black Crow's Head and Solomon Nordic as existing brands.
That is correct.
Yep.
And then more to come soon. And then you'll also, like, this stuff probably isn't as obvious, but if you're clicking around our site, you will see more and more new stuff. We've talked about this throughout the season, but we've been super active this year, like seeking out inventory all over the map, and trying to get it at deals and then pass it along to you guys at deals as well. So there's still like more stuff to show up and go online. So just keep your eyes peeled.
They've been hitting those closeouts hard.
Yeah, there's some great deals out there. Yeah. So anyways, similar to what I was saying, I've been very busy this week. So I had Bob write Top 5 Fridays and choose the topic. So from here on out, Bob, it's all yours.
Well, Jeff, you covered my housekeeping items. I did have them written down here.
That's I figured I could at least contribute something.
You did. That was great.
Thanks.
On with the news. Skiessentials.com put out an article about how the Killington Women's World Cup race will not be held in Killington this year.
I know.
Which is very sad for Killington, although it does come at the benefit of them putting in a new chair in that Superstar location. So that's going to happen, I believe, this spring through the summer. And so two things. One, it's not going to allow them to host that World Cup. And two, they're not going to have that Superstar Glacier going on.
Yeah, so they did it somewhere else.
Yeah, they're doing it on the main Killington Canyon, I think.
Yeah, I don't know the name of the trail.
Yeah.
But I was aware of that.
Just a shift, I think. An operational shift. But no, I don't think any intention of them being the first to close. I think they're still pushing for late opening, which is pretty cool.
Late closing,
thank you.
Early. I don't think Killington pushes for late opening. They also push for early opening.
Early opening, late closing.
Yeah.
That's their deal. And then, so, too bad for Killington, but Copper's stoked, so the race is moving to Copper in Colorado. And if you've been out there and kind of mid-November, like it's cold.
Yeah.
So they have very favorable snowmaking temperatures. I'm always amazed that Killington is able to host that event at the end of November.
Yeah, Copper will be a great venue.
Yeah, and they're no strangers to hosting high-level events, whether alpine or freestyle. They're just kind of built for that type of stuff. So yeah, sad for Killington, but Copper stoked. They are going to have the 2 women's and 2 men's races over a 3-day period, November 27th to November 30th.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, and
Get some men's races in there.
And it's the only women's U.S. stop
Next season.
for the next season.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, again, sad for Killington, but good for Copper.
Now, does it say, is it going to go back to
It's going to go back to Killington. But I just feel like Copper's, they're like, oh, maybe we get a foot in the door and we're gonna push for more.
They're going to earn some negotiation tactics or something to lean on.
I mean, yeah, if they do a good job, then they should apply for more events. I don't know.
Ironically, it'll probably be like 45 degrees and sunny.
And this whole conversation will just get thrown in our faces. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the deal with that Killington World Cup race. You want to talk about wind, Jeff?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah, we've been dealing with it. Kind of sick of it. We had a pretty good-sized winter storm blow through the East Coast here last
weekend.
Sunday. And while you were up there on Sunday during the storm day and some nice snow, generally powerful storms bring about powerful winds. And that's what happened on Monday. And Tuesday. Monday was the more disastrous day, though, including numerous effects here on the eastern seaboard on Monday in terms of affecting not just lift operations, but actual lift infrastructure. So if anyone's wondering why they don't run lifts on windy days, here's 3 good examples.
I'm pointing in the wrong direction again. Bob, I heard several people up at Stowe today that were upset that the lifts were closed. Are you saying that they should reference these events?
I think that once they hear about these events, they might rethink their decisions.
It is amazing, though, like just crazy gusts,
Yeah.
and then you hear somebody like yelling at a parking attendant that the lifts aren't running.
Right.
It's like, you want to get on that quad in 100-mile-an-hour gusts? I don't think you do.
I also feel that there's no conspiracy to keep lifts closed for financial gain.
Yeah, I can't get behind that conspiracy.
I don't think I'm being naive about this.
I don't think you are either. I think they're like, it's not good for Stowe, like a day like today. So
Right.
A day like today was also, so like we had lift closures Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
Monday, like the whole mountain.
Zero.
Tuesday, like some things ran eventually.
Yeah.
And then today we were kind of back to just like one lower mountain lift.
Yeah.
And there's tons of people here. And yeah, like, I don't know.
They don't want that. They don't want that. They want the lifts open and running. And
it's just tough.
Stratton in Vermont, the upper terminal of the gondola, the roof blew off. So the whole thing just filled with snow and was unsafe for people to be in there. So like if that lift was running and people were up there and the roof blew off and all the infrastructure fell on them, that would be bad.
Correct.
People would get injured. So like these are safety issues for people. I just saw a post from Stratton saying that they had fixed the roof, gotten everything cleaned up, and the gondola looks like it's operational today.
Cool.
So they were hoping for Saturday. Looks like they're a day ahead of schedule, so good job by Stratton. Number 2, Bel Air in New York. A tree fell on the line and caused a derailment. So the whole thing just fell off.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they were smart and had the lift closed, and no one was injured. However, there is no plan to reopen. They've been in contact with Doppelmayr and trying to get the big guns in there and figure
that's
out
a big process.
how to get the thing back on the line. And,
Yeah.
it's just a mess. You look at these pictures and the whole, one whole side of the lift is sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
Again, if, your mind goes to worst case scenario and you see, like, if they had loaded that thing and then a tree fell on the line, which, to be honest, I'm surprised doesn't happen more often.
Yeah.
Or maybe it does and we don't hear about it. But
Well, I think I mean, I think part of installing a new lift is strategically taking trees down.
Yeah.
Like when Stowe went from the triple to the 6-pack, they widened
Yeah.
that path quite a bit.
But there's still, I mean, it's
still trees, yeah.
Still trees.
Yeah.
So good luck to Belair opening that lift. It definitely looked like a big mess. And then number 3, Pat's Peak in New Hampshire. They were lucky to avoid injuries, but they were not lucky to avoid having to evacuate a lift. The Triple Peak chair I love this terminology, experienced a deropement due to high winds.
Is that different than a derailment?
I don't know. Maybe a lift mechanic can chime in on what a deropement is. But 120 skiers had to be evacuated off of this lift, and that was not a pleasant day to be outside.
Cold.
It was very cold and very windy.
Yeah.
So those are 3 examples from just Monday of issues with lifts, and fortunately for 2 of them, the lifts weren't open and no one got hurt, but just, as a reminder that lift closures due to wind are 100% safety issues.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to save a dime.
Yeah, and back to the conspiracy theory, on a day like today, like I was saying, sure, if you want to present the argument that Stowe or Vail Resorts is saving some amount of energy cost by not running the lift, they are losing way more than that in customer satisfaction. If you want to monetize people's perception of their experience, it is far more damaging. It's obvious, if you just spend 5 minutes just kind of standing there in silence and listening to people around you, and people are upset.
Yeah.
And businesses don't want people to be upset. Not to defend Vail. They've done a bunch of things not great this season. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
But I can't get behind the conspiracy theory of they already have our money and they're not going to run the lifts because it's going to result in more profits for them. That is crazy short-term thinking.
Yeah. No, but it does. It
a
affects,
business can't do that.
But it's hard though, because it does affect if you were the paying customer today.
Totally.
You were I don't like what I'm seeing here.
Totally.
And yeah, that's
but
a tough
from
one.
a business perspective, it's worse for Vail.
Yeah.
They can't, they're not choosing to shut off the lifts in favor of people being upset.
Yeah.
That is, people being upset is more damaging.
All right. Moving on.
I
could talk about wind all day.
Yeah, I told you I didn't want to talk about
right,
wind.
Sorry. We'll move on to number 3. Another Vail Resorts. No, this is I would put this in the somewhat successful category here.
Topic 3 and 4 to me looked pretty simple.
Okay, yeah. So Keystone Patrol Union has reached a tentative new agreement with their employers through May of 2027. We have talked about this earlier. Kind of a smoke. There's smoke. Is there going to be fire? Looks like cooler heads have prevailed.
Yeah.
Negotiations started back in September in 24, with the patrollers wanting 23 an hour to start instead of 21 something. Still not enough to live in Summit County, but small steps maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're looking to bump that starting wage up to 23 an hour for patrollers.
You just need 7 roommates.
Yeah, and that agreement seems to have been reached. And I kind of feel like Park City and their strike over Christmas has set this blueprint, has set this precedent for these unions who need some leverage and negotiating power.
Yeah, and it's, whether you're a pro-union person or not, I think everyone can agree that patrollers weren't getting paid enough. And it's it's unfortunate that that's what it took to get it to happen, but at least it happened.
Yeah, and who knows what it's going to look like in 2027, whether that $23 an hour is going to be
right,
just a minuscule amount, or if it's going to be helpful.
It's like when they raised the federal minimum wage,
right?
And it's they post-date it. And it's well, yeah, that's not gonna.
It doesn't help.
It's not really gonna help very much.
But yeah, cooler heads prevailed, and it sounds like Keystone Patrol Union will be on board. But it also sounds like there's a couple other unions. We had talked about Breck Patrol, Keystone or Crested Butte, Lift Ops. They're kind of, I think, next in line for
Lift Ops.
Yeah, Lift Ops for these next boosts.
Yeah.
So good luck to them. Topic 4, Powderhorn Mountain Resort in Colorado has sold to Pacific Group Resorts Incorporated. This is a group that owns J-Peak here in Vermont, Ragged Mountain,
There you go.
excuse me, over in New Hampshire, Wisp, Maryland, I believe, Mount Washington in British Columbia, Wintergreen, I believe, in Maryland. So a couple of interesting mid-Atlantic resorts, and now Powderhorn in Colorado. So this group is kind of buying things that have other aspects other than just ski areas, which I think is pretty interesting. And Powderhorn looks like it's got a great mountain bike scene, some nice river stuff nearby, golf, as I'm sure you like.
Who owns Bretton Woods?
I don't know. It's not on my topic.
I was I was just thinking after you said Mount Washington, they should go after the other Mount Washington and try and buy Mount Washington Hotel from the Omni Group.
Yeah.
I think Mount Washington Hotel is Omni Group, I think. And then also buy Bretton Woods, and it feels like that would fit perfectly into their portfolio.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, in this area, Grand Junction area in Colorado, I'm sure you've at least driven through that area.
Yes.
Pretty cool. It's a Mesa County and kind of that western Colorado, half desert, half plateau area, very interesting geography. And Powderhorn's maybe a half hour outside of Grand Junction. And just a really interesting looking resort. A few stats, I had looked it up, 1,650 vertical, 1,600 acres. So
that's
a good size,
lot of acres.
Good size ski area.
Stowe is what, 300?
480 skiable, I think. And they're claiming an average of 250 inches of snow. I think that it gets warm there as well. So
yeah, that whole part of
comes and
Colorado
goes.
gets pretty warm.
And then it's interesting because the passes, they don't work the same way as Epic or Icon passes. So you can get a Mission Affordable pass, and you might have to do some of your own research out there to figure this out, because I couldn't quite get it. So you can, if you get a J pass, then you have reciprocity at these other areas. But if you get a Ragged pass, you only have 4 days at J. So there's certainly a limitation to where you buy your original pass as to where you can use it.
Kind of makes sense.
But J is the outlier. So all the other ones seem like they're unrestricted to each other, and then J is the one that has more limitations.
Interesting.
So I was thinking, because you could get a Ragged pass for $430 and then ski at J 4 days.
Yep.
But, a J pass starts at $800. So I think you got to look around a little bit.
You just got to be strategic.
Yeah, you got to be strategic. But no, I thought that was pretty cool. And just looking at these western Colorado mountains, just these smaller mountains, I think is really fun. And that kind of segues into edits of the week, Jeff. I kind of put a little focus on more local and smaller areas rather than bigger stuff.
I'm here for it.
Edit number 1, Mad River Glen, a 75-year fellowship of skiers. This is a VPR, Vermont Public Radio, for those not in Vermont. And just a nice video focusing on kind of the camaraderie and the growth of Mad River Glen over the past 75 years. Just a super interesting ski area. And if you've never been,
yeah, highly recommend it.
I mean, it's pilgrimage style.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nothing about it that's like anywhere else.
Yep.
Edit 2, Mountains Not for Profit. This is a film from TGR focusing on Indie Pass resorts. So another way of just kind of highlighting these smaller, more independently owned areas. And with a good production behind it from TGR, you'll see some interesting stuff. Next, Lake Effect, a Michigan ski film by Mike King as well as TGR, and kind of focusing on the state of Michigan and some really interesting kind of landscapes and snowscapes, mostly focusing around how the lakes create these crazy snowfalls.
Yep.
So you don't have to have a massive mountain to have a ton of snow, as they show in this, but they certainly get creative with their stuff. And then fourth out of the week, our friend Brooks Curran, skiing Vermont this past January, and Brooks always does a phenomenal job making things look extremely harrowing.
Yep.
Like, I don't feel comfortable watching a lot of his stuff, but I'm super impressed that he's able to do it.
Yep.
Just incredibly adventurous and very daring.
Yeah, talented skier.
Yep.
Got quick feet and willing to throw them sideways.
Yeah, and willing to venture for his turns.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big part of it too. But yeah, that's edits. That's news of the week. Anything you want to add before we go?
No, I'm sitting over here yawning.
Okay. Well, hopefully the winds calm down and everyone gets out and skis or rides this weekend, and we will see you next week.
Bye.